Kids, I'm happy to see you again. I hope your spring break was lovely, wonderful, sitting inside doing nothing but watching TV, hopefully not social interacting, other than maybe talking to your friends on the phone or Skype or something along those lines. But kids, I'm happy to be back to see you all again, although it be virtually. Today we are starting our fourth unit of the school year, the unit that is known as Medieval Europe. My friends, I love this unit and I think that you will too. So today we're talking about the rise and fall of a place called Rome. Our CHQ is how did Rome survive after its collapse? Now, technically speaking, your sixth grade teacher should have talked all about all about the civilization of Rome and the civilization of Greece. But let's be real, I know that a lot of your sixth grade teachers failed to do so. So here is your sixth grade class in about a minute or two. My friends, let us begin. So, as a warm-up this morning, what I want you guys to think about, I wish that you could talk about it, but let's think about it. What are some things that you already know about Rome? Now, I know that a lot of you kids have some background knowledge down over in this corner. These guys are called gladiators. Yeah, you nailed it. Now, gladiators would be these men who traditionally were slaves and would be put into the center of this ring. Meanwhile, all of the people of Rome would sit around and watch these people hack one another into a bunch of tiny little pieces. Then oftentimes what would happen is the winner would have to fight a lion, and then the lion would either kill the guy or the guy would kill the lion, and maybe he'd be set free, maybe he would die for the pleasure of all of the people sitting there and watching this happen. Now, above here, Rome is also very well known for being the center of democracy. Rome and Greece were these first two places that specifically came up with the governmental system that we use in America still to this day. Now, right over here, you see probably, in my opinion, the most famous of all the Roman buildings. Now, this is called the Colosseum. Yeah, you guys nailed it. Now, this is where all of the gladiator fights would take place, and this still stands today. You can still go and see it. Now, when we're talking about Rome today, we're talking about ancient Rome. We're talking about this sort of stuff. Now, here's the problem with Rome. Rome was doing great. In fact, the Roman Empire, to most historians, was without a doubt one of the most powerful empires in all of history. Until yes, this again.
Who can say where the road goes, where the day flows, only time. And who can say
Rome was doing great until invasions, economic trouble, government corruption, overexpansion, bad leaders, just about everything bad that could possibly happen ended up happening to Rome. Now, I want you guys to look at this map for a minute, because what's going to happen is you're going to see this little red blob. It's going to start to grow out of Italy. That's where Rome was. Now, the Roman Empire started expanding and getting bigger and bigger. It made its way to Spain. It's made its way into France, into Germany, Greece, Turkey. It almost encircled the entirety of the Mediterranean Sea, as you see there. Now, it got massive. It went all the way up into England, Africa. It was on 3 different continents, but then the problem started and it split into half. Now, Western Roman Empire started really crumbling until finally it falls apart. Now, the Eastern Roman Empire lasted a little bit longer, and finally the Roman Empire falls apart. Now, once the Roman Empire fell apart, Europe entered to what historians traditionally have called the Dark Ages. Now, Rome falls, Europe falls into disunity. Scholars have long called this period the Dark Ages because Rome was so good, it was so light, it was so big, it was so powerful. And once Rome fell apart, Europe basically fell into a bunch of disunity. It fell into a bunch of tiny little places that were all fighting back and forth for power. Now, throughout this unit, what we're going to look at is we're going to question this question. To what extent were the Dark Ages actually dark? Did all of a sudden the Roman Empire collapse and Europe was this dark, dreary, horrible place? I would argue that to some extent, yes, that is true. We are going to look at some horrible things that happened in Europe, but on the other side of the coin, did all of a sudden Europe just fall into this thing where nobody was having a good time, where nobody was inventing things, where nobody was enjoying themselves, or nobody was living a good life? I think that you could also argue against that as well. So my friends, in order to prepare for this unit, you guys got to learn some of these words. So hopefully I see you today at 11 o'clock, or I'm sorry, rather 11:30. We'll play a quizzes game live, but otherwise, simply go to your Google Classroom, play the quizzes game, learn as much of this vocab as you can. It'll make the rest of this unit super easy for you. Now, kids, I wish I could see you again before the end of the school year. If I am unable to, here's your requirement. Once you're in 8th grade, you better come back first day of 8th grade and come and visit me because I miss all of you kids so much. Kids, love y'all. I will see you tomorrow.